I want to move on to another topic today that I think sits more in kind of ex-policy position, if we're talking about the positioning of political parties. It caught my eye the other day, and I've had a quick look at it, though there's been quite a lot, as you'll find out in this announcement tomorrow, going on here at the platform. It is the idea that we should have smaller government, that governments just spend your money generally inefficiently on things you don't want, and they expect you to say thank you. That's why I hate budgets. It's here's how much money we're going to take off you, and here's the rubbish way we're going to spend it. So isn't it good philosophically, just in general terms, I think, if we had smaller government and less government and fewer bureaucrats wearing lanyards, going to conferences, going through rule books, being a handbrake on freedom and commerce and life in a country? Well, this is actually the conclusion that the New Zealand Initiative has come to, but they've come up with a plan on how you would have smaller government, how it would work. And head of the New Zealand Initiative, Roger Partridge, joins us now to discuss it. Roger, nice to have you back.
Sean, thanks for having me.
All right, you've got a plan for shrinking the government, right?
Not exactly, not this report. This report doesn't address the size of the bureaucracy. It addresses how fragmented we've made our executive government.
Right.
So the size of the government, what functions the government performs, that's a separate issue. The issue here is one on which we were hoping we could get cross-party support, and it looks like we have, with Chris Hipkins coming out yesterday on ZB and saying, apologies for mentioning a competitor.
No, that's all right. They're not really. We're much better than them. Yeah.
Coming out and mentioning that he's got a lot of sympathy for the reforms proposed. So what's happened? This is an area where a picture tells 1,000 words, and if I can ask your listeners to imagine a sheet of paper, an organisation chart with 3 columns. In the first column, you've got 20 departments: law and justice, health, education, and so on. In the next column, you've got 20 ministerial portfolios. And in the next column, you've got 20 ministers. And the lines linking the Minister of the Department of
with
Justice...
With the portfolios and the ministries,
With the portfolio and the ministers are all horizontal. So you've got straight lines. That's your org chart. And that's Norway or Ireland or Singapore. And about 20 of each, or 20 or fewer, in fact. Ireland constitutionally caps the number of cabinet ministers at 15 and has done since the 1920s.
They're quite a good comparison too in terms of population and everything.
They are. So, yeah. All of those 3 countries are peer nations in terms of population size. So now let's think about New Zealand. We have 43 departments. We have 81 ministerial portfolios and 28 ministers. And when you do that same diagram, you just end up with, either a maze or spaghetti, or for people our age, it looks like somebody's dropped pickup sticks. And what we've done is, the worst piece of it is the ministerial portfolio proliferation. So we've fragmented housing into as many as a dozen different portfolios. This government's done something towards consolidating that by giving Chris Bishop 4 of them, but that's not typical. And we've got a long-term problem with housing affordability. But what sort of decision-making do you get if you slice responsibility for the levers, or allocate the levers for housing amongst 6 to a dozen ministers? As one former Prime Minister said to us when we were consulting, if a proposal needs sign-off from 6 ministers, that's 6 opportunities by other ministers or their officials.
Oh, God, to interfere. It's like that scene, I don't know if you've ever seen a movie called Ford versus Ferrari.
I have.
And there's that scene about the red folder when Shelby's about to get fired by Ford. And he talks about the number of hands that got through to get up to the top floor. And basically said, you just got to have someone who's in charge and do it.
Yes.
Yeah, inevitably what you are talking about, though, Roger, though you said this wasn't about smaller government, this will be more efficient government. It will be smaller and leaner and cost us less, won't it?
Well, it'll be streamlined in the sense that it will be it will be lined up. It will look like more like a racked set of pool balls than them all over the table and the floor, which is what we've got at the moment.
Okay, so what is next with this report? How do you see it and the ideas in it becoming a reality?
So we're recommending 3 steps. Firstly, that the Prime Minister, practically it'll be after an election, consolidating the number of ministerial portfolios. And that can be done without any drama. Mm-hmm. Now, critics of the proposal have said, yeah, but what about coalition negotiations?
Yeah, there are political considerations in portfolio.
And what about the realpolitik of backbenchers wanting positions and posts? But we're addressing that by looking at what other countries do. And so if you consolidate ministerial portfolios down to 15 to 20, there will be ministers with big workloads. And what countries like Ireland and Australia and the UK do is they create 2 tiers of ministers. So you've got your 15 to 20 cabinet ministers, and then you've got a second tier of junior ministers to whom they delegate specific responsibilities.
Well, they used to be called under-secretaries.
Yes, under-secretaries, junior ministers. In the UK, they call them ministers of state.
So you can still hand out the lollies in a political sense to all the freeloaders and the gravy train riders, which doesn't sound any more efficient to me, Roger, to be honest.
Well, the advantage is that instead of having a proliferation of budget-holding ministers, you just have 15 to 20.
Yeah.
And international research suggests that the number of budget-holding ministers determines the amount of spending and the size of the deficit. There are long-term studies showing that as you increase the number of budget-holding ministers, you increase government spending. So let's collapse that down to 15 to 20. Create a second tier of cabinet ministers in waiting. The interesting thing with both Ireland and Norway is both countries have a long history of coalition governments. So this model works with coalition governments. So that's the first step.
Because it kind of sets it's actually good in the sense, I'm just thinking about it, Roger, that it sets a framework so that as power changes between political parties, there's at least some ground rules on how you run the government in the country that everyone's agreed on.
That's right. And encouragingly, the party leaders who have come out in support of this idea are Chris Hipkins and David Seymour. So that's a good sign that we're onto something that makes sense to those that have experienced how government works in practice. So the first step
is Luxon not responded or what?
Not yet, but there are signs on the other side. So the first step is portfolio consolidation. The second step is creating the role of junior minister. That may be a bit more controversial, but it shouldn't be. It's tried and tested elsewhere. And then the third step is consolidating government departments from 43 down to a international norm, which is about 20.